So first off, I want to thank my virtual audience for agreeing to participate in this talk. I have to admit, when the instructions were given last week about preparing a talk, there was a little bit of excitement about it. And then I got to Sunday, which was just yesterday, 2 days before needing to deliver my quote unquote talk. And I hadn't done much preparation at all. And then I somewhat discovered that in a lot of ways, the talk, if you will, has really been in the making all along. And it's funny, I listen to quite a few podcasts, but for the past, I would say, year or so, I've been stuck on one particular podcast, and it's a podcast that explores a particular spiritual framework. But the quote that, or the words, I should say, which resonated with me, that is really, I think, relevant to our time together, and certainly this particular course, is that the podcaster said that mindfulness isn't something that you do, it's something that you are. And that quote really stuck with me. And I just heard it over a week ago before we were given the assignment of doing this talk. So, using that as a springboard, I really want to talk about the meaning of mindfulness. And although it may seem somewhat simple in terms of uh, content for a talk, if you will, I think it's really so essential that we not get too far away from like the basics and ground zero. So I really want to explore today during my talk the meaning of mindfulness. So when I started mindfulness back in 2016, I don't really think I understood what mindfulness is or was. And to be quite honest with you, it probably wasn't until the past couple of years, few years, I should say, where I really kind of sinked my teeth into the formality and the technicality of mindfulness. I mean, I had this topical sense of what it was, but I think part and parcel to deepening of my own practice that I really kind of know the definition. And so, like, probably similar to me, the definition of mindfulness simply can be described as, an awareness. The definition that really sits well with me these days is the definition as quoted by John Kabat-Zinn. I forgot in which one of his books, but this definition being this awareness that arises when the attention is intentional with this quality of openness and curiosity and kindness. And so, even in that definition, as I've stewed in it, you know, what I take away from that definition is that mindfulness is like inherent to me already. It isn't something that I have to achieve or something that I have to accomplish. It really is like this uncovering and unveiling. And so, as I think about my relationship with mindfulness and even just bringing the intellectual frame to, the definition, I've come to like understand that in a lot of ways it's hard to limit the definition of mindfulness to words and even a technical definition. And in my personal experience, it's been a sort of an evolution. And so I mentioned that I've been practicing mindfulness since 2016, and even the practice has evolved. And you know, the the landing of mindfulness certainly can be very dependent upon what's going on in my life, whether it's personal or professional. And I also have come to realize that mindfulness is deeply personal. And so maybe throughout this talk, you've kind of contemplated, what is your definition of mindfulness, and maybe even reflecting upon when you first entered or stuck your toe into the practice, how the meaning of mindfulness has evolved or even changed or shifted for you. And, in addition to its evolution in my own personal and professional life, which honestly has become one life, it's also deeply personal. And for me, it's been very experiential. And I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned, especially after being introduced, to MBSR and the framework, I've really been very keen on deepening the practice. And I, pulled up um, my learning plan, and this is when we first started foundations, and I forgot this was more than a year ago. And Abe had us, really clearly articulate in black and white, what were my goals for engaging in MBSR as a teacher, what my highest intention was, and so I look back at that document, and again, it was over a year and a half ago, I believe, and my highest intention for really getting so intimate with MBSR and the practices was my own healing and my own forgiveness. And so that may seem, I don't know, Pollyannish or, to some, and I get that. And then I compared it to what my intention is now in 2025 in May. And it's somewhat relatable, but the intentionality now is really behind peace and contentment no matter what life may bring me. And it's scary to even say that, but that really is my highest intent with the practice. And so as I kind of just share it with you, how this evolution has taken place for me, not only in what mindfulness means to me, but what my intention is for engaging in the practice, I certainly encourage you to do the same. Assuming that this is a talk that would be done during a silent retreat, probably during or immediately after, I think those are wonderful milestones to take a check the gauge, if you will, on, am I practicing because I'm on autopilot? Am I practicing because I want to do good and I want to be a do-gooder, and there's no judgment there. But I think it is an important part of the practice in and of itself to really look at what the motivation is. And so, with that, with it being evolving, with it being, very personal, I've also just reflected that mindfulness is how I show up each and every day. And I remember my oldest son, this was about a year ago, really he had a challenge. And as a mother, I wanted to certainly console him and let him know that it was going to be okay, and really just shield him from any pain. I don't want to see him, my youngest son, go through any pain. But during that particular instance, mindfulness was able to really show me that the best I could do for him in that moment was just to listen and not to mom. And in a lot of ways, really kind of understand and have this knowing that this challenge that he was experiencing was really for his highest good. And so mindfulness, couldn't be explained in words. It's a story now, but it's really how I showed up. Again, this awareness that arises, or this presence that is all kind of knowing, if you will, on what to do in any given situation. Um, and so I urge you, encourage you to certainly prompt yourself with those inquiries. I also want to bring in to the room what I've learned, from colleagues about what mindfulness means to them. And these were some beautiful, sayings that I've taken with me along the way. One of a colleague shared that, mindfulness is like my mom inside out. And I thought that was so beautiful. Um, Another colleague shared that mindfulness is the home within myself. Yeah. And so, yeah, just really nourishing, really nourishing. So I have about, I don't know, I think 2 or 3 minutes left. And I read the article that was given about how to prepare a talk, and it said that I shouldn't talk about myself for the whole talk, which I probably did. And I, should be somewhat prepared. I really didn't prepare for this like I usually do for a talk that I would give. But I really just wanted to be in the moment. I mean, I did some preliminary looking at some journal entries and a little bit of preparation, but I really just wanted to bring my heart into this space because I tend to be an over preparer. And so this was actually quite nourishing, just to bring myself in the moment and have discussion in this way. And so next time I will probably have some more take home messages about um, my given talk, but that's it. It's just an encouragement to check in, with yourself, mindfulness. As facilitators, teachers, guides, it's this constant checking in the moment, and that can certainly be applied across the board, especially with our practice, our own personal practice, and as we show up as teachers, even my motivations for teaching, which is another interesting prompt that you certainly could um, investigate again, which we have done in this course. So I want to end out my time with a poem, a meditative poem. And I've really been impressed by the poems that colleagues have shared throughout this process. And this particular poem, I received this poem doing another training that I went through, and I keep it posted in my office, and I'll share it, and then I'll just leave that with you. And so the poem is titled There is a hole in my sidewalk, and this is by Portia Nelson. So, chapter 1, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend that I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I am in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit, but my eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. And then chapter 5, I walk down another street. So thank you so much for listening to me today. And that's it. Have a good one.